Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. On this week's program, it's the March edition of our conversation with Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law. Ag in the courtroom, ag throughout the judicial system. You're going to find a very interesting topic, especially if you're in the mind to maybe purchase some farm ground. We'll also have updates from Kansas Corn, Kansas Wheat, and the Kansas Farm Bureau, along with the weekly update from the Kansas Livestock Association and market information from Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
And agricultural news from agview.net. The Russian Ministry of Trade and Industry recommending the country's fertilizer producers temporarily halt exports. That's a sign that the sanction imposed after Russia invaded Ukraine might impact other countries. Many major international shipping companies suspended virtually all cargo shipments to and from Russia to comply with those sanctions. And farm debt at commercial banks showed some signs of stabilizing at the end of 2021, driven by a higher balance of real estate and non-real estate loans. Agriculture debt increased for the first time since 2019. The Kansas City Federal Reserve said while the pullback is lending abated, agriculture loan balances remaining below the recent historic average. Farm real estate loans also increased slightly at the ag banks, but production loans continued to decline and led to further reduction in concentration of debt among those lenders. The low interest rate environment continues to pressure margins for lenders, and sharp asset growth pushed capital ratios lower, but stronger earning performance held overall returns for ag banks above the current historic average. A relative strong outlook for the farm economy in 2022 appears likely to continue, supporting improvements in ag credit conditions. Farm loan delinquency rates also improved further through the end of 2021, as did bank liquidity. That's ag news. More at agview.net. Dr. Roger McEowen, we return.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
And time once again for our monthly Ag in the Courtroom, or Ag through the judicial system. And joining us is Roger McEowen, Dr. Roger McEowen with the Washburn School of Law. Roger, it's hard to believe it's already been another month.
Yeah, time flies.
Well, let's get right into it. I think this is a very timely topic we're going to spend both segments on. And we know there's been a lot of auctions and even more planned when it comes to farmland. So you kind of laid out some things to consider. If you're going to be in the market to be buying farmland, it's not just as simple as raising your hand and getting a high bid.
Well, we may think that that's the case, but there can be a lot of details that can unfortunately come to the surface that could create problems for us. And the whole point of what I recently wrote on was to kind of highlight those things, get people thinking about, what really is all involved about buying property, and how do I really make sure that I've gotten a good deal? It may look good, say for the purchase price, but there may be other things that can impact that value. And if I haven't squared those away, then my investment may not really turn out to be that good of a deal.
There's a lot of different things from making sure things as simple as having a clear title to a bunch of reports that really do either add to that good deal or could cause an awful lot of headache.
Yeah, and some of this, in fact, a lot of it deals with regulatory aspects by federal and state government with respect to your property. And you want to make sure, and it's not that big of an issue in Kansas, but let me start with endangered species. You buy land in certain areas, and we have had this come up in Kansas before. We got certain types of species that will have their habitat on private property. And if that's the case under federal law as well as state law, that really restricts what you can do on that farm or ranch property. So we want to make sure, just check where the various species are at, what species are in Kansas that are listed as endangered or threatened, where's their habitat at? And there's a lot of public sources you can go to figure that out and just kind of have an idea, okay, I'm close to these species, or this land might be in a habitat area. What impact's that going to have on my land use, if any? You want to check that. Now, Kansas doesn't have a lot of those species, but we get states like Florida and Texas and Tennessee and California. They have major issues with that. So that's one. And then on the other environmental side, and this is more of an issue, maybe that farmland you're buying's got a ravine on it, and in years past, people dump stuff in there, old washing machines, cars, tractors, whatever. I've seen it all. And maybe there's that old dump site on the property. Well, that can perhaps create issues with respect to the disposal of hazardous waste. You want to make sure you don't get into trouble with that.
Well, I think you make note, if you get the government involved, it could be a very long process.
Right. I actually had a case, Ken, involving USDA and RCS, and it spent 24 years in the court system after going through the regulatory system all the way to the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals, and then back on remand to the agency, 3 contempt citations against the Secretary of Agriculture. What a mess. And by the time we were all done with that, the landowners had died.
Wow. Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law is joining us. Let's take a break, come back. Lots more to talk about, some things to consider if you do purchasing some farm ground. Back with more in just a moment.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and LibertyLink that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
And joining us, Dr. Roger McEowen for the Washburn School of Law, this month's segment of kind of Ag in the Courtroom. And we're talking about some considerations if you might be in the market to maybe expand your operation or get in and buy some farmland. Well, Dr. McEowen, we've kind of got things started, but let's talk about some other considerations. And one that maybe sometime we don't think much about, but probably should. Are there existing arrangements? Are there existing leases on that ground?
Yeah, that's a real big issue, Ken. A lot of farm ground or ranch land is leased, and there may be that tenant that's out there. And in Kansas, of course, when land changes hands, that doesn't automatically sever that lease relationship. You buy subject to any existing lease, unless there's an agreement in writing where the seller and the tenant have executed an agreement that says if this land sells, then the lease terminates. That's pretty rare. So you're going to take subject to that existing lease. Now, you got to figure out who that tenant is, if there's one out there. And I've had a situation come up just this past year where there was an undisclosed tenant that the seller didn't even know existed. They knew that they were dealing with this particular tenant, but they did not know that the tenant had also designated his 90-some-year-old mother as a co-tenant for purposes of federal farm program payments. Now, whether that's legitimate or not, it's a different story. But then she claimed she didn't get notice when the land changed hands. Therefore, the lease would continue for another year. It was an oral situation. And the seller said, well, I don't know who this person was. The buyer, where'd this person come from? So, talk to people, check those records, check what records are public. What will FSA disclose to you? We'll ask the seller to check the FSA records to make sure that we know who we are dealing with in that situation. Seems weird, but stuff comes up.
Right. It's also make sure you get the right signatures. I mean, whether they be leasee or also the ownership, make sure everybody signs off.
That's right. Particularly spouses too, if there's any type of spousal interest.
All right, a couple other things. One, a lot of counties are doing planning, and that might make a big situation, depending on really where you are around Kansas. We continue to hear more counties doing some of that planning and zoning.
Yeah, what are the plans associated with property that's near your property that you're buying, even if it's not your property that you're purchasing? Are there plans for solar panels to be put up? Are there plans for wind turbines to be put up? Is there a plan in place to expand the road that might take some of your farm property away that you're now going to be paying for? Of course, if that's the case, the government has to compensate you for it if it's a taking. But how's that going to impact your plans for your farming or ranching operation? So those are things you want to check. County commissioner, county board of supervisor, meeting minutes. What are they talking about? What's been in the news in the local paper? And, actually, it seems funny, but if you just spend some time in the community, go to the local cafe, have breakfast there and chat with people, you're going to learn a lot of stuff.
That is true. Also, before we run out of time, you need to do that physical inspection too. I mean, there's a lot of other ways to do that, but that's important. So Dr. McEowen, folks want to learn more about these things. They can read all about it in your blog and other things that you have thoughts on or keep us up to date on. How can they gain that?
You can access my blog from the homepage of my website, and that's washburnlaw.edu and then /WALTR.
All right. Dr. McEowen, always great to talk with you. We'll look forward to it next month.
Thank you, Ken.
Dr. Roger McEowen from the Washburn School of Law has joined us. We'll have more in just a moment.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
I'm Chad Epler. I am the Kansas Corn Growers Association Secretary. I grew up on a family farm in southeast Kansas, and so production agriculture has been very key to my growth and my success. I went to college at K-State and decided I want to be an ag teacher, and I spent 15 years as an ag teacher and FFA advisor, and that really was my passion for so many years. And being involved in the Ag Teacher Association, we had winter conferences, and I was approached by Sharon Thielen of Kansas Corn about, hey, there might be an opportunity for you to be a part of the Kansas Corn Growers Association as a board member. Jumped in with 2 feet. So even though that the commissioners are the ones that really divvy out the dollars for the education programs, such as Seed to STEM, I love the education reports. I love to hear how many teachers we are reaching across Kansas, how many students we are reaching across Kansas. Now in the Wichita Public Schools, a 5th grader going through that school district will have a lesson about how corn is made and how it's grown. And I think that's really cool. It needs to happen in more grades. But that education piece will always be true to my heart. Even though I'm back on the farm, out in the field, I will always, be in the classroom and be a teacher at heart. So these are things that Kansas Corn is really focused a lot of time on, the education of young people. And so not only elementary, but collegiate, there's collegiate scholarships, collegiate programs, academies. Kansas Corn does a ton with education, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Kansas Wheat RX seminars took place in Wichita and Hays on February 8th and 9th. Wheat RX is a prescription for economical and sustainable production of high-yielding and high-quality wheat through management practices. About 150 wheat farmers attended the seminars to hear various researchers from Kansas State University discuss topics ranging from increasing protein content in wheat to soil fertility. K-State wheat breeder Alan Fritz said his team is working to increase the protein and functionality in the current wheat gene pool and find new genes. Dr. Kelsey Anderson Onofre, K-State plant pathologist, said that in 2021, an estimated 14% of Kansas wheat yield was lost to diseases. She recommends applying a fungicide at full flag leaf extension to maximize yield. Dr. Dorivar Ruiz Diaz, K-State professor of agronomy, said research shows yield increases with nitrogen applications. He emphasized the need to soil test every 2 to 4 years. Despite input prices right now, there are opportunities for higher yields and higher protein to improve producers' return on investment. Dr. Romulo Lulato, K-State Extension wheat specialist, shared the results of a grower survey of management practices on wheat yield. This research shows managing fertility and applying fungicides can maximize both wheat yield and protein quality. The results of these research projects are available to farmers at kswheat.com/wheatrx. More Wheat RX seminars will be scheduled in future months.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers, farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
Well, I'm Debbie Lyons-Blythe, and I'm a cattle rancher in the Flint Hills of Kansas. And you know, sustainability has been kind of a buzzword recently, but I'm going to tell you that farmers and ranchers have always been focused on sustainability. We may not have called it that. We may have said heritage or legacy or simply doing a better job with what we have. But I think the first thing that we need to do is to define sustainability and kind of give us some parameters. So I think as far as agriculture, sustainability has to have three things. One is it has to focus on the environment. So in terms of environmental, one of the biggest things is taking care of the grassland. So if you have a grazing management plan, and that can work in any state, any geographic area in the United States, you have your own grazing management plan, you are impacting not only land and water, but greenhouse gases as well. We also need to focus on social, which that would encompass taking care of animals and livestock as well as people. So on a farm or ranch, most of the people in our world and the workers are our kids because we work together with our families. So we want to make sure that our kids know how to handle livestock safely as well as making sure they're safe on equipment. In addition, a pretty key important part of sustainability is economic. And when we talk about economic sustainability, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. If I don't make money on my ranch, then I don't have money to put back into all of the other environment or worker safety or anything. So it's fundamental that a business makes money. And so those three pillars, in my opinion, are the basis of agriculture sustainability. But I'm going to tell you, farmers and ranchers don't think in boardroom talk. So here's what I say when I think about sustainability. Take care of the land, take care of the animals, take care of the people, and make money. And if we can do all of those things, then I will be able to pass on my ranch to my kids and grandkids. And that's sustainability.
To learn more about sustainability on the farm, visit KansasLivingMagazine.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
USDA announced last week the availability of up to $215 million in grants and resources as part of a continued effort to strengthen the meat and poultry processing sector and create a more resilient food supply chain. As part of previously announced federal investments totaling $1 billion, these funds will be allocated to three main areas, including the newly created Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program, workforce development, and technical assistance. Specifically, USDA Rural Development will make $150 million available through the Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program. Under this program, grants of up to $25 million will be accessible to offset cost of construction, expansion, and acquisition of equipment. USDA also is making $25 million available through the program for technical assistance. These funds will be used to establish partnerships between organizations that specialize in meat and poultry processing and program applicants, recipients, and future applicants of meat and poultry inspection readiness grants. The National Institute of Food and Agriculture will allocate $40 million to existing workforce development programs to assist new and expanding processors with recruiting, training, and retraining adequate labor.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Good day, everyone. I'm Derek Hermish with Pinion, a division of K-Coe Isom. It's getting kind of hard to talk about the grain markets these days. They change so fast that if you look away for a minute, they might be 20 cents different when you look back. And it's not just the grain markets. Recently, I watched crude oil drop over $10 a barrel in less than 10 minutes. With this kind of volatility, it's best to do a careful examination of what your risk tolerance is. Now, risk tolerance can mean a lot of things to different people, and it can only be defined by you, the individual, and you should not let anybody else define it for you. If you have a high risk tolerance, make sure you are aware of things that can happen in today's world before taking a big bite out of the opportunity apple. I can assure you there are some deep pockets that have been rattled by recent moves, so don't think it can't happen to you. On the flip side, if you are not willing to tolerate any risk, well, you may miss getting to sample the opportunity apple at all. As a farmer, you've already established that you are willing to have some risk, so I wouldn't describe you as not willing to tolerate it. It's in the job description. You can't avoid risk. It's in the weather and it's in the markets, whether you decide to do something about it or not. You have risk either way. How you define it and what you do about it are pretty important at the moment, though. I'm Derek Hermish. Have a good day.
Well, that's our show this week. Be social with us at KansasAgReport.net or our social media channels. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.